Welcome to Season 3 of the Spotlight series, Don't Just Survive, Thrive. Season 1 was launched to help people through the pandemic by talking to a variety of experts about topics such as psychology, finance, and health. Season 2 focused on more work-related issues, including HR, marketing, and leadership. Now it is time for Season 3. Season 3 is centred on the IT industry, specifically tech startups. There are also career spotlights where I talk to senior IT people about the secrets to their impressive career journeys. My name is Nicholas Steele, founder of JJP Talent Solutions, an Australian IT recruitment company. For over 20 years, I've helped tech startups and innovative SMEs to attract, recruit, and retain technical talent. I hope you enjoy listening. I'm delighted to introduce Adam Amos. Adam is Director of Robotic Systems, an engineering consultancy that specialises in accelerating the journey from initial idea to manufactured device. Robotic Systems brings together electronics, software, and hardware to turn customers' practical experience into game-changing new products. Robotic Systems has also been ranked in the Deloitte Technology Fast 500. Adam, that is an amazing accolade. Thank you for joining me on Season 3, Episode 18 of the Spotlight series, Don't Just Survive, Thrive.
Thank you very much for having me, Nicola.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining me, Adam. So tell me a bit more about your background and your personal story.
So basically, robotic systems, I got started kind of in robotics competitions. That's actually my origin story. So believe it or not, I went to the University of Wollongong, which is about an hour south of Sydney in New South Wales. And I was coming to the end of my degree, and I wasn't a particularly good student. I took a 4-year degree and turned it into a 6-year victory lap degree. And it was definitely not anybody's fault other than my own. But yeah, basically, I was coming to the end of my degree, and I realised I really, really wanted to go into these robotics competitions, and specifically, I wanted to do this one competition that was being run by the CSIRO, and it's called the Outback UAV Challenge. And basically, what you had to do was design a drone that would take off from an airport in outback Queensland, fly 5 kilometres into the bush. When it was out there, find a bushwalker, like a simulated lost bushwalker. And then when you find them, drop a bottle of water to them, and whoever gets the bottle of water closest to the lost bushwalker got the 50 grand. Oh. And I wanted desperately to go in this competition. There was one little snag. Despite coming to the end of a mechatronics degree, I couldn't really do anything. I felt like I couldn't actually compete. I couldn't bring anything together. And it was from this, deep sense of frustration and self-loathing about failure that I decided that if I wanted to go in this competition, that I needed to get like one particular skill nailed. And for me, that was software, because I knew that if I could get really good at software, then I'd be able to bring together all the other bits and pieces and essentially glue them together using code. So that's what I did. And I basically set out to become the man, or, in this one particular programming language called LabVIEW. And because I wanted to go in this competition. And basically, that's what I did. And I went in the competition, built all sorts of autopilots and camera detection systems, all in this programming language. And I was pretty unsuccessful actually in the competition over the years. I never won. but along the way, I got really, really good at this programming language. And basically when I finished uni, I had a laundry list of projects in this programming language, all from my drone competition work. And I walked straight into a job after uni, which was my ideal job at the time, being a LabVIEW consultant, which is essentially the programming language that I went all in on. And I loved that job. I built in the 2 years I was there at that company, built all sorts of really high-end pieces of kit for the Australian Army and as well as the film industry. And it really had a great time. It was was 2010 when I got that real job. And I was there for 2 years working at that business. But unfortunately, 2 years after me being there, the company went broke. And so I was basically, part of it. It was a small business, about 20 people, head office down in Melbourne. I was in the satellite office in Sydney with about 4 people in it. And when it went broke and I rang around the customers to tell them it was all over Red Rover, they all insisted that I basically finish their projects and they insisted that I kind of kick off and get their things done, I guess selfishly or for their own behalf. But that gave me the opportunity to basically clear a space in the parents' garage because I was still living at home at the time, as you do as a 26-year-old, clear a space in the parents' garage and basically, Robotic Systems got started kind of in a big mess of all the drone stuff. And, that's literally how I got started.
Well, because that was going to be my next question about what your purpose was when you set up Robotic Systems. But it sounds like you had to do it to service the clients from the previous business. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. There was no real, I'd love to say there was some big grand vision of this, that, the other. But no, it wasn't. The reality was, I was 26 at the time and wanted to build robots. That's what I wanted to do. And, the projects that I had that were left over from the previous business, the previous company rather, they, were not major projects, right? There was, I think, a grand total of about maybe $30,000 worth of work. But when you're living at home and all your expenses are beer money, and it's great. Basically a millionaire. It was, there was nothing more to it than that. There was no big why. It was just, it basically just kind of all happened as a result of that.
Well, yeah. So, my next question was going to be about your mission and your vision. So now, have you got more of a mission and a vision, and has that really changed over the last few years?
Yeah, definitely. So in front of the parents' garage, basically what happened next, because we only really started to get a bit clear on, the vision and mission here, what is it, 8 years, 9 years later. But to kind of explain that, I guess I'll explain a bit of the journey because we've spent a lot of time searching for this purpose, probably unsuccessfully. So basically after 12 months of doing the working at home in the parents' garage thing and finishing the handful of projects that I had, I got a bit of a break. Basically a major mining company called Orica Mining in Newcastle were developing the next generation of their explosives control systems for their bomb delivery vehicles. And they had chosen LabVIEW, so the programming language that I was a specialist in, as their core development base that they were going forward across their entire fleet of vehicles. Just to kind of paint everybody a picture of what these vehicles look like. Imagine a garbage truck that's filled with all the raw materials in it that are used for the purposes of making industrial explosives, which are used in the processes of mining. So a big garbage truck that makes tons of explosives per minute and puts it in the ground for the blasting process in mining. I don't want to go too much more into the details of that. Good enough. But big bomb truck. And basically they'd picked the same programming language that I was a specialist in, and then that essentially took me out of the parents' garage and brought me to Newcastle, which is about 3 hours north of Sydney, up the coast, which is right. It's the Hunter Valley, which is a major mining area in New South Wales. So it gave me the opportunity to onboard my first team member. Fast forward, 8 years through to today, or 9 years now. We're a team of 11 engineers, scientists and artists designing and building all sorts of electronic devices for the mining and ag industry. But along that way, we got a bit lost. The purpose of the business was never really that clear. And what started out as a very simple value proposition when we first started, basically we wrote LabVIEW code. We're the LabVIEW guys. I'm the LabVIEW guy, and, it was kind of like one big job of writing LabVIEW. I definitely got a bit lost as to what the point was. We started developing our own products. We built drone aircraft, very large drone aircraft, so things that we were doing previously for fun now started coming into work. We started building all sorts of electronic widgets, and most notably, we built this surveying product. and they all sucked. Every single one of them achieved technical perfection, but didn't actually sell. Nobody wanted to buy them. They're all cool pieces of tech, and they all worked critically, but yeah, we couldn't sell them. And, about 2 years or so ago from today, it's 2021 at the time of recording this, Robotic Systems was not in a good spot. I was putting a lot of money into developing these products that weren't really selling, and never were going to sell. And the business was not healthy. All the money from consultancy were basically flushing it down the toilet on things that just weren't going to work. And it got to the point one day where I'm like, all right, that's it. Pretty much flipped the table. Like, we need to do something different here. And with our surveying product, we got accepted into the CSIRO's on Prime program. And what that is a program run by the government to help find pathways to impact in industry for fundamental research. And we thought we had some fundamental research in this product we developed. And what the program wants you to do is something very simple. It's basically get out of the office and make 100 customer discovery phone calls and understand what it is, your problem, the problem to be solved is. And you're not meant to go into the program with a finished product like us. You're meant to go in there with an idea and then validate it. So we kind of went in arse backwards with it. But yeah, we had to make 100 customer phone calls, and we got to 89 calls in the end. But we got to about the call 40 mark and realized I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. We had built this product that basically solved nobody's issue. It was a problem was a solution looking for a problem, and the people who we thought we were going to build it for, it couldn't work for them. And then so we started thinking, okay, well, it's going to work for somebody else. And then we went to the second group that we thought we'd going to build it for. Didn't work for them either. It just sat in this awkward middle zone of just nothingness, of being some real cool piece of tech, but, fundamentally no commercial value. So it was at that point I canned the development of everything. So every product we were making, the surveying systems, the drone aircraft, all those things just go, right, that's it. Stop it dead. And I had to go away and, it's what I like to say, go to the mountain moment where I, to go to the mountain, take some acid and get really clear on what the point of this business is and, my life in a lot of ways as to what's the point of even showing up to work every day, because we're, putting, 80 to 100 hours in each week, building these products that are, above PhD level of complexity, yet less than a McDonald's wage to show for it. So it was from that point of frustration, I'm like, that's it. I don't even really, care what happens at this point, because it's going to, doing something different is going to be better than where we're at right now, which is nowhere. So going to the mountain, took the acid, and when I came down off the mountain, I had a pretty clear vision of what the purpose is, and that is that we build, we design, we bring together electronic software and hardware to basically accelerate the journey from idea to manufacture devices that our customers own and sell. So basically, we don't build any of our own products. We only design and build other people's stuff. Because the key insight I had was just because we can do the how of building stuff, we can make the electronics, doesn't mean we have the what. And it's our responsibility as engineers to basically actively seek out those whats so we can extract that intellectual property out of somebody's heads and turn it into a product which they can own and sell, because that's going to be the biggest lever that we as engineers can pull to make a difference in this world. So that's been the 2021 vision of what the point of this business actually is and the mission of it. And since getting clear on that, 18 months ago to 2 years ago now, I think it's been we've had some really good success, and we've gone from basically being on struggle street to wanting to basically close and go back to doing literally any other job than this, to then getting ranked on the Deloitte Fast 500 fastest growing businesses in the Australia Pacific region. And so it's for us, it's been a pretty cool turnaround. And yeah, I guess that's our current best thinking on what the point of the business is. Ask me again in 12 months, I'll probably have a sharper axe than that. But that's kind of the current state of play.
That's fantastic. And you had to go through that nasty, sticky, icky stage to then come out the other side. So you're a great example of not just surviving, thriving, which is obviously the name of this podcast here. So that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your kind of candid explanation there, Adam.
It's okay. It's all about the tactical face plants. I think it's all about.
Well, we all make mistakes, don't we? We learn from our mistakes. So, in terms of your core values, how have they really driven the culture there at Robotic Systems?
Yeah, well, I guess this is all coming back. I'd say more than 2 years ago, there was no values. It was just kind of like everybody show up and just fucking work a million hours. Like there was not. That was it. That was all it was. Work more, to spin more wheels faster. The values are something we have to work on a lot, and that this kind of came from the mountain as well. So our values were 3. Basically, it's be practical, be scientific, and create something new. So for us, every time we got it right and we made something that made a difference in the world, it all came from practical experience. There was no theoretical, how this, this might work like this. It was like, no, this is direct experience, a practical hands-on experience. Being scientific, it's all about the answers in the data. Nobody cares about your opinion. If you kind of let opinions guide you, you'll end up building things that nobody wants, and you'll build terrible pieces of crap technology that are basically useless. And creating something new, not reinventing the wheel. A common thing in technology is people reinventing the wheel and thinking that they are geniuses. I know, because I've done some amazing wheel reinventions, and they cost huge amounts of money, contribute nothing to humanity, and will almost certainly cause you pain in your project because you've wasted so much time reinventing a wheel that you could have just got. So newness for us is a big part of it. In the last 12 months, we've had 4 patents filed by our customers for tech we've developed on their behalf. In the next financial year, we're looking another 4 to 6 patents. So for us, we measure our success based on, how often our customers are able to patent the tech we develop for them, patent the assets we built for them, because, awards are great, but patents are better. So that's what we're all about.
That's fantastic. And again, you had to discover those values from just do it to bringing in those much more meaningful aspects there. And so in terms of building engineering teams which really deeply understand the customer's journey, what do you think are the key secrets there to building those teams?
So I've been very lucky that I've had a very good team around me the whole time. But one of the problems we had was that we would often spend so much more time talking about stuff than kind of doing. We've never really had key boundaries around things. So finding the team, that's, I guess, one problem. The other part is getting the team to be good. And the key learning we've had is that just having amazing people on their own won't do it. You've got to have that coupled with a really, really well-defined business process to make that team actually sing. So setting the boundaries of, we call it bumper bowling here. Basically, you can take the best person in the world, but if they don't have a clear direction, they're not going to be productive. You can take a mediocre person, couple them with a really shit-hot business process that's been well refined over many years of delivering similar products. It's like the afterburners are on. So I guess for me, there's 2 parts of the process. There are 2 parts that make this work. One is the process, the other is the people. And you kind of, either of those in isolation don't work. It's got to be the 2 together. And that's what I spend all my time on is basically that process. That there's a bigger lever for really good people to pull.
Definitely, and bringing it all together. You've talked about some of the challenges that you've had about going off to the mountain. What
Taking the acid, don't get the acid.
Taking your acid, not literally, obviously, but anyway, are there any other challenges that you'd say that you've had over the last 9 years?
Yeah, a lot of challenges. Sunken cost fallacy. I don't know if any of the listeners are familiar with that one, but for me, it was a really big one. You put a lot of effort into something, it's not working, you want to put more effort into it because you're justifying that because you've already put so much effort in. It's like, playing a poker machine and keep feeding money into it because you think it's eventually going to pay out. It's easy to talk about, very difficult to do in practice. And when you look, maybe staring down the barrel of, burning $300,000 to $400,000 worth of effort and heartache, it's very difficult to let go of those things. If I had to isolate one particular challenge, that'd probably be the biggest. The next one would be habits. So when we do things now, we're doing things a different way because the old way sucked. The old way was pain. But it takes a lot of effort to actually want to break that habit. So you've got, maybe team that wants to do things a certain way because, they think it's, it's not usually from a place of malice, but it's a place of usually misunderstanding. They don't want to do things a better way, a new way, or consider a new way because of that habit. Breaking those habits is, for me, been really hard. And it's something that I think will always be hard. So yeah, I guess that's the two things: sunken costs and habit breaking, habit forming.
Excellent. And I guess those could exist in any kind of business. Absolutely.
Almost certainly not unique to me. And I've learned that the more training I do and kind of getting out there, because I used to be I've only recently transitioned from being the guy that wrote the code and run the business, which is another thing that didn't work. Now just being the guy steering the ship that, you need to always be thinking about. So
definitely. Machine vision. What does that really mean to you? And why do you think it gets lost in translation?
Well, machine vision is probably one of the more glitzy technology terms at the moment. It's all about using cameras, using imagery to basically sense things using a computer. So replicating what we're doing with our human eyes. So writing pieces of code that replicate what your brain is doing to, detect a car or find something interesting and do that repeatedly at scale. So, that using machine vision to help drive the cars around. It's very easy. It's very good for, explaining. It's a simple concept to kind of understand. Everybody can be like, oh, yeah, you see it with the camera and then we can figure it out. What gets lost in translation is the huge amount of effort that actually goes in behind the scenes to essentially replicate in a computer what's happening in your brain. And it's not as flexible as people think. The human brain is 150 million years of continuous R&D across, however many billions of people. So, yeah, it's what gets lost in translation the most, the effort to build it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're using it in pizzas now, aren't they? Domino's,
yeah, that's
use
right.
machine vision so that you can create your own perfect pizza. Yep. You can see it before you pick it up. I don't know. I'm not a big pizza eater, if I'm honest with you, but I did read that somewhere about using machine vision in Domino's.
In pizzas. Domino's is the leader in pizza technologies.
Well, I think they sell themselves not as a pizza company, but as a technology company. So anyway, going a little bit off tangent there with my pizzas. And well done for being ranked the Deloitte Technology Fast 500 recently. So why do you think robotic systems was chosen? And what impact has that ranking had on your business?
So the way that competition works is basically just submit to Deloitte your profit and loss. So they just looking at year-on-year growth, and it's literally a ranking of the fastest growing companies in the region. So for us, what does it mean day to day? Not a lot. It's kind of like the scoreboard for us, and for me, I guess in some ways, is it's one thing for everybody to say, everything's going great, business is looking great, but then we've got something tangible with a bit of credibility behind it to say, actually, we are, going in this direction. And here's the scoreboard to officially tell you why, not just, a number on a slide or something like that. Or you obviously can't just go around handing out the profit and loss statement, but you can hand out a ranking from Deloitte, which is pretty cool. So that's probably been the biggest changes. We can now tie something tangibly to say, we actually have turned it around from a position, 2 years ago to where the business, I was pretty much over it, to something now that has some tangible real value in the world. which is for me something that we've spent so long trying to find and ultimately never did with the way we were doing it in the bad old days.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, having that accolade when you're attracting new people into the team is saying, look, we're doing really great things, and it's proven by the Deloitte there. So in terms of bringing new talent into the team as well. So Adam, what is your personal and also your company goal for 2030, which, oh my goodness, it's only 9 years away. So where are you going to be in 2030?
Yeah, good question. So right now we're in a bit of a scaling phase. So we're taking what the value proposition that we've finally been able to prove has some value and scale that out. So the big vision, the big thing we've realized with what we've been doing is that we've got the capacity to create a whole bunch of jobs. And the way we've been able to do that, like how we've been actually work that out is because we basically design and build other people's products, right? And when we're doing that, we're actually creating small businesses every single time we do that. So we take somebody's idea, turn it into a product, they go and sell it. That means that around each one of these products, there's going to be an orbit of, the business owner, probably at least 3 to 4 support people, maybe an administration person. So there'll be, say, 5 people, call it, orbiting around each one of these machines. And at the moment, we're basically building in 2020, the end of this calendar year, so the 30th of December 2021, we're on track to have built 6 different machines. So that means we're going to create 30 jobs in the process at a minimum by the end of this year. So we started thinking, okay, well, what would that look like in 2030? What sort of job impact could we have by the year 2030 that we could tangibly measure? And what problem can we solve with it? There's a lot of transition stuff going on in the mining world and the energy sectors that we're trying to understand right now, because we're in areas where there's different types of mining and different types of job requirements that are going to change. So we started to look at what can we actually do with this superpower that we've got, which is to essentially create high tech small businesses all through Australia. So the big vision for 2030 is to create a whole bunch of jobs in the thousands based around these small businesses that are based around this new piece of technology that's yet to be developed, which we're a helping hand in. So how many exactly? Well, that the jury's still out on that right now. We're still collecting data to work out, what is the problem to be solved. So we'll be updating you when we know that. But yeah, the big vision by 2030 is all about jobs, creating jobs, and creating specifically a high tech industry in Australia. So yeah, that's the game plan. At best thinking today.
That's fantastic. I really love that about creating new jobs, and particularly within high tech there, and particularly, I guess, in Newcastle as well, where there's been that dominance with mining and looking at other industries and bringing more people to the workforce or transitioning them as well. So you graduated 11 years ago,
11 years.
and what advice would you give yourself as a graduate back in 2010?
The advice I give myself is what I've been saying to everybody about graduating, and it's just like me. I told this story, right? When you finish uni, right, you're basically shit. There's acknowledge that you don't know anything, and for me, the most important thing you can do is specialize in something. And the easiest thing you can do is pick like a development tool. I picked LabVIEW. If you're an electronics guy, pick one of the PCB design, the circuit board design packages. Become really, really, really proficient in it. If you're a design guy, industrial designer, or a mechanical engineer, get really good at one of the CAD packages. Be the master of it. Because right now when you're a grad, you don't have a lot going for you. But if you've got this hammer that you can swing that does something tangible, then you're going to get a real opportunity to actually swing that hammer and you're going to be able to actually have something notable about yourself. Because, you know, if there's a lot of grads, right? Every year the universities pump them out, universities and businesses, they crank out product. That product is grads. You get a lot of competitions of grads. So, you know, do something that's going to make you stand out. And for me, the biggest thing that make you stand out is being proficient in one of the tools that are available. You know, it's not going to pigeonhole you in life, which a lot of people think it's going to.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the first stepping stone in your journey that you're looking at, 30 years, 30 years minimum of working, maybe longer. So if the worst that happens is that you get a lot of experience doing really technical stuff using these tools, that's going to be all wins, because you can always go to management later on. You can't go from management to technical. It's not a thing. You can't do 10 years of management and decide you're going to start designing circuit boards, because guess what? You'll be back to being a grad. So yeah, that's my advice. That's my 2 cents on it.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for that, Adam, and thank you for sharing your insights. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I think that as long as people are getting out there, getting interested, going to robotics competitions, that's my big insight. Go out there and compete. Go and be part of things. And don't stay at home playing video games. There's a whole world of opportunity out there, all of which requires participation. So that would be my only thing to end on, end the rant on.
Perfect. So get out there, get yourself seen, become part of the conversation and compete and everything. Well, Thank you very much, Adam.
No worries. Cheers.
Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review. If you're looking for career advice, your next career opportunity, or to grow your tech team, then please call me, Nicholas Steele, on 0499 773 546, or go to our website, jjptalent.com.au. The Don't Just Survive, Thrive podcast is part of the Spotlight series, which includes the YouTube channel Spotlight on Software Development. If you want more insights into the software industry, particularly tech startups, then subscribe to the Spotlight on Software Development YouTube channel. Thank you for listening. Until next time.